welcome back. Today we'll be doing this corporate setup. Before we do so, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. So we'll be building on marquee numbers today. These was actually made from foam board provided by the client. I didn't have anything to do with them. But they were pretty neat. They wasn't too flimsy. It looked like they did a really good job DIYing it, or if they purchased it from somewhere else, I don't know. But I'm using floor lamps. The floor lamps you can purchase from like Target, Walmart, IKEA. I'm using those to build my structure on because which I'm glad I did. This is what I typically do, even if I have like the wood marquee numbers. I still do this method, but I'm really extra happy that I did this method because I didn't know that they was using like these foam board marquee numbers. So I'm glad I actually had them with me. So I was able to build my design behind the marquee numbers with these floor lamps. And I always have them like two different heights because I know I don't want it super tall on both sides. So I always make sure I have two different heights for the marquee, for the lamps. And then I also keep extra poles in my suitcase just in case I need them. Sorry for the lighting going in and out. You guys know I'm using my camera and I just keep it on auto because I don't really know much. So my apologies. But yeah, I'm building this structure. The main colors was the company logo, which I was a little okay. We'll get into that. So first, the colors are the company logo, which was like this blue slate, this red, and a yellow that they sent me in an email. The yellow was more of like a accent color, so you won't see a lot of that, but you'll see the primary colors, which was the red and the blue in the design. And me building, I used two clusters at a time for the red and the blue, and then for the yellow I had like cluster and quad together, and I also had some quads on the side that I was using throughout the design just to add some shape to certain areas and extend it out. So you'll see me going back and forth from using like two clusters at a time, or just maybe quad or a cluster of six balloons at a time. The two clusters have eight balloons. Some had eight balloons in both of them, and then some had like an eight balloon and a six balloon cluster tied together. If it was at like an end point, like that red at the top, it was a cluster of eight balloons with the 16-inch, and then at the top one, that was a cluster of six balloons, just to get an idea on how I'm mixing them up back and forth. So here I'm just going to be filling out, adding clusters in, putting them on the lamp just so I make sure that they standing up, standing against something and not on its own. And I'm just adding the 260 to the lamp because sometimes when I added, like I twist the balloons around the lamp, it kind of pushed it back too much. So I end up using the 260 to tie it to the lamp pole and then attach the cluster to the 260. So it's not like tied around the lamp pole, which was pushing it back some. I wanted to come out more. And here I go, just adding, fixing the lamp pole, going back and forth. And I'm going to fill in the middle a little bit as well using some clusters. This design was a 20, they purchased a 24-foot garland. And I think I end up inflating maybe a cluster and a quad or something like that on site. So they probably end up getting like a 25 or a 25 and a half foot garland, which is not bad at all. I mean, and I know some people have problems like charging per foot. I absolutely love it. I mean, there's always room for improvement, but I enjoy charging per foot because then you give the client what they pay for. And I know the concern can be like, well, you putting yourself in a creative block space because this is what they pay for. This is what you have to do. So this is what comes into play. You either one have to charge based on your style of designing. So if you know working on a marquee number, two marquee numbers, that you need at least 24 feet of balloons or 26 feet based on previous experience, like today, I know that 24, 25 feet of balloons would get me a nice design, then I would charge that much. Unless the client purposely want like a big design behind it, then you go up. But if you know that your style of designing, you need at least 24, 26 feet, then you charge that amount. And the client want to pay that, then they pay it. And if you know you can do maybe a quick 18-foot garland on two marquee numbers because you don't need to fill in the whole back side. You may just do the top or do something going around it and nothing in the back. Then charge your 18 feet for that. Really, pricing per foot really comes into play based on your style of designing. Or if you want to base it on what the client send and do a style based on that, then that's when it will put you in like a bubble of, how can I create this design that the client want by also being on their budget. So you need to be charging based on your style of designing when it comes to pricing per foot. That way, when you charge somebody for a shimmer wall, you're charging the amount of balloons would typically use to create that kind of design on a shimmer wall or marquee number or even just the single arches. You should be charging based on how you style your designs and how much you need to create a beautiful design. If not, then it won't work for you. Pricing per foot won't work. You will always feel like you go on site and you're blowing up extra and extra and extra, which at some point, sometimes you do need an extra quad or two. But I never need an extra 5 clusters, an extra 10 clusters, because I already know based on previous experience, whether I did the design or not, that I may need this amount of balloons, I may need that amount of balloons. And then you can, when the time comes, when it's time for you to quote out for different setups, you can easily give an estimate to the client based on, again, the pattern. Like, oh, I know I need 18 feet of balloons for this type of backdrop. I know if I'm doing like just a freestanding on its own, I can use 14 clusters, sorry, not 18 balloons, 18 foot, which is 18 clusters, or 14 foot, 14 clusters. But you also need to have a minimum. So this is really great. If you have a minimum, then you're not going to leave out the house for a certain amount. So my minimum is at 18 foot. That guarantees that I can do like a simple up and over, the most basic thing ever. That is my minimum. I'm not leaving out less than the 18 foot. Now, if you want less balloons, you can get less balloons, but you still want to pay that 18 foot price. That's totally up to you. If you want less balloons, you can have as less as possible, but you're going to pay that 18 foot price. So it's good to also have a minimum amount of balloons you will get. And then the people can get smaller feet, like they want a 10 foot, 12 foot. Those will be considered like grab and go, and you can come pick it up yourself, unless and that's just what it is. But anyway, I hope all of that makes sense. I just personally like the foot method. It's easy to calculate for setups, because charging by the hour is just, I don't know. I did it before and I felt like I was charging the same thing for every setup. And even now, I can do a pretty decent setup, maybe a 40-foot garland in like 2 hours, less than that probably. So it's like, just because I can do it doesn't mean that you can afford it or should have it. Because you can't afford a 40-foot garland doesn't mean you should get the 40-foot garland. So I don't know. I don't think it's smart, just business wise. Sometimes we got to separate the artist in the business. So, and it's good to have someone there that may not even be has an entrepreneur mindset, but can think logically and think business and money wise, because sometimes being an artist is hard to balance the two. So definitely find someone in the business or someone who has that kind of mindset that you can bounce these things off, because sometimes running a business is by ourselves, we need help. But this is the final step, you guys. I hope you got something from this video. You guys know I can ramble a little bit, but it's okay. It's okay. But alhamdulillah, we are at the end. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will leave the colors in the description box. Bye.